Picture a 16-year-old high school student in Australia.
Okay.
Over the past few years, she's been fighting this really grueling battle against leukemia. And not just once, but twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for a huge chunk of her youth, her entire world has basically been reduced to, hospital rooms, just the hum of fluorescent lights and doctors who are often visibly exhausted, just rushing from room to room to manage this overflowing ward.
Right, the reality of modern healthcare.
Exactly. But now I want you to contrast that incredibly human, vulnerable image with something completely different. Imagine looking up the sky over a busy city and seeing a robotic drone carrying a human kidney buzzing right over rush hour traffic.
Which sounds completely wild.
It really does. Or, imagine a microchip wired directly into a human brain, translating this chaotic, silent world into clear, intelligible speech.
This is Better Side of the World, where we find good news from around the world. Introducing your favorite AI hosts, Delta and Tide.
Welcome to today's Deep Dive, everyone.
So glad to be here to unpack all of this.
Yeah, it's great to have our resident medical tech expert back with us, because today we aren't just looking at like a list of futuristic medical gadgets.
No, we're really digging into something much deeper.
Right. We're exploring this deeply counterintuitive question. How are robotic drones, advanced AI algorithms, and neural implants actually making medicine more human?
It's basically the ultimate paradox of modern healthcare.
How so?
Well, we've been conditioned by decades of science fiction to fear that injecting machines into the clinic is going to just strip away all the warmth. We worry it'll kill the empathy of the doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah, like we're just going to be treated by literal robots.
Exactly. But when you look closely at the data and the real-world applications emerging right now, the exact opposite is happening.
Really?
Yeah. The technology is actually becoming this the scaffolding that allows the doctor to actually be a doctor again.
Okay, so to understand how that scaffolding works, let's start right where our 16-year-old leukemia survivor starts, inside the clinic.
Let's do it.
Think about the next time you, the listener, are sitting on that crinkly paper in an exam room. Notice what the doctor's doing.
Usually staring at a screen?
Exactly. More often than not, they are frantically typing on a laptop, trying to document every single word while you explain your symptoms.
It's incredibly distracting for both people.
It is. But we have this massive new report on the table today, the Philips Future Health Index 2026. And they surveyed over 2,000 healthcare professionals and 20,000 patients across 10 different countries.
That is a huge sample size.
Yeah, it's massive. And the numbers suggest the era of the typing doctor is basically coming to an end, because AI is saving clinicians the equivalent of over 16 working days a year.
16 days. That is a staggering reclamation of human time.
Right.
And it's vital to understand the mechanics of how these AI tools are actually providing clinicians with more time for direct patient care.
Because it's not like the AI is just diagnosing people by itself.
No, not at all. It is not about an AI making complex diagnostic decisions on its own. It's really about eradicating the administrative burden. It uses something called ambient clinical intelligence.
Okay, ambient clinical intelligence. Let's break that down for the listener. What does that actually look like in practice?
So think about the traditional workflow. A doctor listens to your heart, asks you about your family history, and then
They turn around and type a novel.
exactly. They either type out a massive note right there, or they stay 3 hours after their shift to do it. Ambient AI changes that by acting as an invisible scribe.
Invisible scribe. I like that.
Yeah, using advanced natural language processing, the AI literally just listens to the natural conversation between you and the doctor.
Wait, does it write down, like, the small talk about the weather, too?
No, that's the genius of it. It filters out the small talk. It identifies the actual medical entities, like your symptoms, dosages, timelines, and then it cross-references that with your decade-old electronic medical record.
Oh, wow. So it knows your history while it's listening.
Exactly. And in real time, it generates a perfectly coded, structured clinical note. By automating these routine tasks, nearly half of the surveyed clinicians reported saving at least 132 hours annually.
So the doctor isn't acting as a data entry clerk anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, they can actually maintain eye contact, read your body language, maybe notice if you're, like, holding something back, that changes the entire paradigm of the visit.
It really does, because medicine is a field defined by intense cognitive load.
Right.
When a physician is just bogged down by administrative minutia, their mental bandwidth is severely depleted. And the data reflects this relief, you know?
What did the report say about that?
Well, 49% of clinicians report less work-related stress, and 32% report a significant reduction in overtime.
Which means when they walk into an exam room to deliver a difficult diagnosis to, say, a teenager with leukemia.
They aren't completely burned out.
Yeah, they aren't exhausted from fighting with a drop-down menu on a computer screen for the last hour.
And that reduction in fatigue leads directly to safer care. I mean, human judgment degrades under exhaustion. The report actually found that 39% of clinicians saw AI identify or prevent potential medical errors at least 3 times in the past 3 months alone.
Wait, so the AI is actually catching mistakes?
Yeah, but again, the AI isn't the lead physician, it's a safety net. It catches that subtle drug interaction or the overlooked lab value that a tired human brain might just gloss over at the end of a 14-hour shift.
I do have to push back here a little bit, though.
Sure.
Because looking at this Phillips report, there is a massive operational blind spot. 70% of healthcare professionals state that AI training in their organizations is inadequate, inconsistent, or just totally unavailable.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag.
It is. They're struggling with checking the AI's accuracy and navigating it technically. It sounds like we are upgrading the hospital's nervous system, but we aren't teaching the doctors how to interpret the signals yet.
That is easily the most critical hurdle the industry faces right now.
Why is it so hard to just train them?
Well, the root cause of this training gap is the severely fragmented IT infrastructure that plagues global healthcare.
Oh, right. Every hospital uses different software.
Exactly. You don't just have one unified medical record system. You have competing platforms, siloed data within different hospital departments, and, frankly, legacy software that was built in the early 2000s.
Yikes.
Deploying a sophisticated language model consistently across all those unique environments is an absolute nightmare.
So it's not like just downloading an app on your smartphone.
Not at all. It requires a systemic overhaul of hospital IT. Furthermore, clinicians are rightly concerned about liability.
Oh, who gets sued?
Exactly. If the ambient AI summarizes a conversation but misses a really subtle complaint about chest pain.
And the doctor signs off on it.
Right. If they sign off on that auto-generated chart without thoroughly proofreading it, who's legally responsible if that patient goes home and has a heart attack?
The algorithm, the hospital, or the doctor.
Exactly. It's a legal minefield.
Which explains why over 90% of the surveyed professionals stress that keeping a human in the loop is absolutely essential. Like, we aren't outsourcing the practice of medicine to software.
No, we are moving toward what they call a hybrid care team. And the patient is actually an active participant in this new dynamic, too.
Really? How so?
Well, the Philips data notes that 74% of clinicians report their patients are arriving at consultations already informed by AI tools.
Oh, like they've run their symptoms through health bots before even scheduling the appointment.
Exactly. So, the future of the clinic is an AI-informed patient and an AI-supported clinician engaging in a collaborative conversation.
Rather than just a frantic data-gathering rush.
Exactly.
Okay, so AI is giving doctors the mental bandwidth to carefully and accurately diagnose something like, say, a failing organ.
Right.
But once that diagnosis is made, the doctor hits a completely different wall. Physics and time.
Yes, the logistics of actually treating the patient.
Which brings us to the next massive bottleneck in patient care, the physical logistics of a transplant. Let's look at this groundbreaking study conducted on June 5th, 2026.
The Richmond study.
Yeah, in Richmond, Virginia. The United Network for Organ Sharing UNOS teamed up with NASA's Langley Research Center and LifeNet Health, and they successfully transported human kidneys by drone, flying them beyond visual line of sight.
This represents just a monumental leap in medical logistics.
Because time is so critical, right?
In organ transplantation, time is the absolute dictator of success. Once an organ is recovered from a donor, it undergoes cold ischemia.
Meaning it starts dying.
Essentially, yes. It starts degrading immediately. The window to transplant a kidney safely is incredibly small, and for a heart or lungs, it's even smaller.
So any delay is catastrophic.
Delays dictate not just the recovery of the patient, but whether the surgery can happen at all.
Okay, but transporting an organ by drone beyond visual line of sight sounds incredibly efficient. But from a risk management perspective, the variables just change completely, right?
What do you mean?
Well, we trade the unpredictability of human drivers and traffic jams for the unpredictability of airspace and weather. Like, how did the UNO study account for mid-air variables? Sudden pressure changes, temperature drops, or just sheer physical vibration from the drone?
That's where the aerospace engineering involved here is just fascinating. The drone wasn't just like carrying a standard plastic cooler.
Oh, I'd hope not.
No, it carried a specialized payload system equipped with barometric sensors and active thermal regulation. Throughout the flights, which were about 15 minutes long, the team was continuously monitoring internal temperature, atmospheric pressure, and altitude.
And what about the shaking? Drones vibrate a lot.
Right. They were specifically testing whether the high-frequency vibrations of the drone's rotors would cause cellular damage to the delicate renal tissue.
And the results? Did it damage the kidneys?
No. They conducted core biopsies on the kidneys before the flight and after the flight. Pathologists analyzed the tissue and found absolutely no negative effects on the integrity of the organs.
Wow, which basically proves the viability of the whole concept.
It does.
Because when you look at the current limitations of medical logistics, the appeal of a drone network just becomes so obvious. Right now, if you are transporting a kidney across a busy city, you rely on an ambulance with sirens blaring, fighting through unpredictable human drivers, intersections, and, weather conditions.
Yeah, and by taking the organ into the airspace, you basically replace chaos with predictability.
Because it's a straight line.
Exactly. A drone operates on a designated, unhindered flight path. It travels in a direct line from point A to point B.
Which has to be a huge relief for the doctors.
Oh, absolutely. For a surgical team standing in an operating room with a patient open on the table, knowing the exact arrival time of that organ down to the second is invaluable.
And the human stakes behind these logistics are just incredibly sobering. I mean, right now, more than 100,000 people are on the U.S. transplant wait list alone.
It's a massive crisis.
Someone new is added to that list every 8 minutes. Tragically, 13 people die each day simply waiting for an organ that never arrives, often because logistical bottlenecks prevented a viable organ from reaching them in time.
Those statistics really reframe this drone study. It stops being just a fascinating aerospace experiment and becomes a moral imperative.
Absolutely.
And there is a deeply human foundation to this specific research that really deserves attention. The kidneys used in these Richmond test flights were not meant for a waiting patient.
Right. They were research donations. When I read that detail in the source material, it really gave me pause.
It's very powerful.
These organs were generously donated by families working with LifeNet Health after it was medically determined that those specific organs couldn't be used for a life-saving transplant.
The grieving families made a conscious choice to donate them to science instead.
Right.
One family's tragic loss, transformed into a research donation, is quite literally the physical foundation that allows these future-saving logistics to be tested.
Without them, we can't do the tests.
Without the generosity of those donor families, aerospace engineers and medical researchers cannot advance the science. They are really the silent, essential partners in every medical breakthrough we discuss.
It's just a profound legacy to leave behind.
It truly is.
Now, while a 15-minute drone flight highlights the rapid, almost breakneck pace of modern logistics, some medical technologies operate on an entirely different timeline.
A much slower one.
Exactly. If our 16-year-old survivor from earlier underwent intense chemotherapy, she might face a pretty common side effect, severe hearing loss. And fixing that kind of biological damage doesn't happen overnight.
No, not at all.
Sometimes it requires decades of relentless global collaboration to fundamentally alter how human biology interacts with the outside world.
You're pointing to the 2026 Richard N. Merkin Prize in Biomedical Technology, aren't you?
I am. It highlights an achievement that fundamentally reshaped our understanding of the human nervous system.
It's an incredible story.
This year, the $400,000 prize was jointly awarded to 5 pioneers: Graham Clark, Erwin Hochmer, Ingeborg Hochmer, Michael Merzenich, and Blake Wilson. They were recognized for developing the modern cochlear implant.
Right.
Now, to really appreciate why this device is so revolutionary, we have to look at the mechanics of hearing loss. Usually, severe hearing loss is caused by the death of tiny hair cells inside the cochlea, which is that little spiral cavity of the inner ear.
And once those hair cells are gone, they do not regenerate.
Exactly. So traditional hearing aids, what do?
Well, traditional hearing aids are essentially just amplifiers. They take environmental sound and just make it louder.
Right.
But if the hair cells responsible for detecting that sound are completely destroyed, cranking up the volume does absolutely nothing.
I like to think of it like a broken piano. A hearing aid just hits the keys harder, But if the strings inside are actually snapped, you still won't get any music.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it.
Thanks. So the cochlear implant takes a radically different approach. It bypasses the broken keys entirely. It takes a microphone, converts sound into electrical impulses, and delivers those signals directly to the auditory nerve.
It's basically wiring the hammers of the piano directly into the pianist's brain.
Exactly. It is the very first medical device in history to successfully interface directly with the human nervous system to generate a conscious sense.
Which is mind-blowing when you think about it.
But the timeline of this invention is what really caught my eye. It is incredibly fragmented. Like in 1975, Ingeborg and Erwin Hochmer developed the first microelectronics multi-channel implant over in Vienna.
Right.
Then in 1978, Graham Clark inserted his version into his first patient in Australia. Meanwhile, over in California, Michael Merkin was establishing the underlying neurophysiology.
Right, all working in different parts of the world.
Yeah. And it wasn't until 1989 that Blake Wilson developed the signal processing strategy that made it truly work. Why did it require 5 different brilliant minds spread across the globe over the course of decades to make this function?
Because restoring a human sense isn't just a biology problem, and it isn't just an engineering problem. It required a flawless convergence of entirely different scientific disciplines.
How so?
First, you needed Michael Mersennick's neurophysiology. He had to map the brain's auditory processing. The cochlea is tonotopically organized, meaning high frequencies are processed at the base, and low frequencies are processed at the apex.
Like the keys on a piano.
Exactly. The implant had to perfectly map to that biological geography.
Then you need the hardware to actually deliver the signal.
Which is where the Hochmers and Graham Clark came in. They had to achieve extreme engineering. They built microelectronics that were small enough to fit inside the skull, durable enough to last for decades, bathed in bodily fluids, and safe enough not to damage the surrounding nerve tissue.
But even with the map and the hardware, early patients had a massive problem, didn't they?
They did.
Because they were receiving electrical pulses. But it didn't sound like speech. It was just a muddy, chaotic wall of noise.
And that is the final piece of the puzzle. That's where Blake Wilson's breakthrough in behavioral science and signal processing changed everything.
What was happening with those early implants?
Early implants fired multiple electrodes at the exact same time, so the electrical fields would overlap in the fluid of the inner ear, interfering with each other and creating that wall of noise.
Ah, I see.
So Wilson developed a strategy called continuous interleaved sampling.
Okay, continuous interleaved sampling. What does that actually mean for the electrical signals?
Instead of mashing all the piano keys at once, Wilson's algorithm fired the electrodes rapidly in sequence.
Oh.
Yeah, think of it like playing a blazing fast arpeggio on a piano. By firing them sequentially, the electrical fields didn't overlap. The auditory nerve could suddenly distinguish the distinct frequencies.
That is an incredible aha moment.
It really was. That single algorithmic breakthrough boosted patients' speech understanding to over 80%.
Wow. And today, over 1 million people use this technology to communicate, learn, and experience the world.
It's life-changing.
But the legacy of the Merkin Prize winners extends far beyond hearing, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The cochlear implant basically serves as the ultimate proof of concept for the entire field of neuroprosthetics.
Because it proved we could talk to the brain.
Exactly. By proving that human biology and silicon microchips can safely and effectively communicate over decades, these 5 pioneers blew the doors wide open.
For other senses.
Yes. Every modern effort to develop neural implants designed to restore vision to the blind, or to allow paralyzed individuals to control robotic limbs with their thoughts, all of it stands on the foundation of the cochlear implant.
Which brings us full circle to the underlying theme of today's deep dive. We've talked about ambient AI erasing hours of administrative charting.
Right.
We've looked at the aerospace engineering required to fly kidneys across the city. We've broken down the neurophysiology of wiring a microchip into the auditory nerve. It is a massive amount of high-tech engineering, but none of it matters in a vacuum.
No. Algorithms, drone logistics, and neuroprosthetics are utterly meaningless without the human lives they are designed to save and empower.
Which brings us back to the young woman we talked about at the very beginning of the show.
The teenager in Australia.
Right. Her story is our final source for today. Despite battling leukemia twice, despite the grueling years of chemotherapy, the endless lab tests, and the constant health setbacks, she recently became a finalist for a prestigious scholarship supporting young people facing serious illnesses.
Her resilience is astonishing, but what is most compelling is what she intends to do with her future.
She continues to fiercely pursue her dream of becoming a pediatric surgeon.
Which is just incredible.
She has spent her entire youth relying on the medical system simply to survive. And now, she wants to be the one wielding these new tools.
That is the ultimate so what of everything we've explored today. You can easily imagine her a decade from now, standing in a clinic.
Using the very tools we talked about.
Exactly. She's using ambient AI to seamlessly chart her conversations with terrified parents so she can actually hold their hands and look them in the eye.
Yeah, and she's relying on drone logistics to ensure the donor heart arrives exactly when she needs it in the operating room.
She is the human element at the center of the technological web. All the billions of dollars in global healthcare research, the complex cross-continental collaborations, the decades of clinical trials.
None of it is just for show.
Right. They do not exist simply to push the boundaries of software or aerospace engineering. They exist to give people like her a future so she can, in turn, give a future to others.
It completely reframes our initial question. The technology isn't invading the clinic, it is defending it.
That's a great way to put it.
By stripping away the robotic tasks that doctors have been forced to do for the past 20 years, the typing, the coding, the logistical tracking, we're allowing humans to return to the core art of healing.
Which is what medicine was always supposed to be.
Let's bring all of this together. Today, we've explored a massive paradigm shift in how medical care is delivered. We've seen how natural language processing is doing the heavy administrative lifting, giving clinicians back over 16 days a year, and actively preventing medical errors by reducing burnout.
Saving so much time for the patients.
Exactly. We've looked at how drones are revolutionizing the frantic race against cold ischemia, cutting through the chaos of city traffic to deliver research-donated organs with pinpoint predictability.
Straight through the sky.
We've traced the decades-long global effort of the cochlear implant pioneers who decoded the auditory nerve and proved we can seamlessly interface with the human brain. And we grounded all of that data in the ambition of a teenage survivor who represents the very heart of why we innovate.
The core takeaway for you listening today is that cutting-edge technology is not replacing the human touch in medicine. Far from it. Technology is being strategically leveraged to rescue it, to preserve it, and to expand it.
But before we let you go, our expert has one final provocative thought for you to mull over as you go about your day.
Right. So think about this. If AI and automation successfully take over all the massive data processing, the complex logistical routing, and the routine analytical tasks in healthcare, will the medical school curriculum of the future need to drastically shift?
Oh, that's interesting.
If the human doctors of tomorrow no longer need to be walking memorized encyclopedias of pharmacology and biology, will they spend just as much time studying empathy, behavioral psychology, and the pure art of human connection?
That is a fascinating question, because if the machines are finally holding the stopwatch, the humans finally have the time to heal. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will see you next time.
This has been Better Side of the World. And somewhere tonight, something good is still happening.